Hey, welcome back to Max and Mello's Architects of Soul. I am Max Soul.
And I'm Mello Soul, and we're absolutely thrilled to have you joining us today for another deep dive into the artist who shaped the very fabric of soul music.
Yes, today we're talking about a true titan, a visionary whose voice could soothe your soul and, well, his lyrics could ignite a revolution. And yes, we're talking about the one and only Marvin Gaye. Not just a singer, he's a poet, a philosopher. Mello, he was a studio auteur who dared to challenge that status quo.
That's right, Max. Marvin Gaye took Motown, a label synonymous with catchy, chart-topping pop soul, and pushed it into uncharted territory. He proved that soul music could be deeply personal, profoundly political, and still resonate with millions. His journey wasn't easy, but his impact was monumental.
Yeah, it was amazing on all of us. So we're going to go explore his artistic leap with this groundbreaking album, What's Going On, which, of course, we came up with. I mean, it was in my selection of most listened to records of my childhood. His fierce battle for the creative control of his journey and the lasting legacy that he left for generations of artists like us. So stay with us as we take you on a journey of Marvin Gaye.
And welcome back to Max and Mello's Architects of Soul. I'm Mello Soul.
And I'm Max Soul.
Yeah, Max, before What's Going On, Motown had a very successful, very specific formula. It was all about the hit single, polished production, universal themes of love and heartbreak, ooh, baby, I need your loving kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And Marvin was the master of that formula, giving us classics like I Heard It Through the Grapevine.
Oh, absolutely, Mel. But you know what? By the late 60s and the early 70s, Marvin changed. He had a profound shift, and he watched what was going on in the world around him. Vietnam, civil rights, social unrest. Marvin had something to say, and it wasn't just about romance. He saw the suffering. He saw the injustice. He felt he had to say something to reflect on that music and in his music. Reflect on that in his music, and What's Going On was an artistic response, an absolutely radical departure that almost didn't see the light of day.
That's right. It almost didn't see the light of day because Berry Gordy, who was the head of Motown at the time, was apolitical. He didn't want any kind of, anything that was too topical being sort of discussed on his label. Cause
blowback.
He was all about, just making that money. And I get it, but Marvin had a different idea. What a departure it was, too, because he infused the album with political themes addressing war and poverty and environmental destruction and police brutality. And, these were subjects unheard of on a Motown
Stuff
record.
to scare Berry Gordy into holding on to that record for almost 2 years.
Yeah, almost 2 years. He didn't
right.
release it it was recorded in 1969. He didn't drop it until 1971. So, but when he did drop it, it became an instant hit. And it wasn't just the lyrical content, because the musical expertise on it, the musicality was revolutionary too. He brought in jazz-influenced arrangements, lush string layers, and a more expansive, almost orchestral sound. There was a far cry from the tight 3-minute pop songs that Motown was known for.
Yeah, no baby, baby, I need your loving.
Right. I mean, that was cool too, but he was doing something different, and it was a cohesive conceptual album, not just a collection of singles.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was a Motown artist to start with, but what he did here was revolutionary.
Yeah.
Right? It truly was. He layered his own vocals. He created a rich tapestry of sound that felt like both intimate and grand at the same time. And it wasn't just a hit, it was a statement. Marvin was making a statement. Marvin was making a prayer. Marvin was making a lament. It was a call to action. He wanted everybody to know how he felt, and he rolled it all into one thing, and it redefined what soul music could be and how its impact was on us. So showing that it could be both commercially successful and deeply, deeply profound at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that, my friends, was just the beginning of his impact. We're going to take a quick break, but then when we come back, we're going to talk about the epic battle Marvin Gaye waged to get this masterpiece released. So don't go anywhere, okay?
Hey, welcome back to Max and Mello's Architects of Soul. I'm Max Soul.
And I'm Mello Soul.
So before the break, we were talking about the artistic genius of what's going on and the impact it had. But we touched on Berry Gordy and how Marvin had to fight tooth and nail to get this record released, right?
That's an understatement, Max. Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown, initially hated what's going on. He thought it was too political, too preachy, and wouldn't sell.
Yeah, he was scared.
He was. He wanted Marvin to stick to his established hit-making formula, but Marvin, for the first time, refused to compromise. He actually went on strike, refusing to release any more music unless he was given full creative authority over his work.
And Motown controlled everything. I mean, that's totally unprecedented there. Like Barry called the shots. He told you what to wear. He told you what to how to dress. You know how your hair was, what the act did, how many dance steps, everything. Artists were under so strict a control with the producers and the label dictating all that song choice, arrangements, artists, who's you're playing on. In fact, the same band played for everybody. I mean, let's face it.
The Funk Brothers.
Exactly. Marvin Gaye's stand, well, it was a seismic event, right? He's standing up going like, I'm going to make an earthquake if you all don't get this because my vision is strong and I believe in it, right? And the message of what's going on, well, he was willing to risk his career on that, which ultimately he did. He won. Gordy relented, and we know what happened. The album was released, and it became an absolute critical and commercial success. Unbelievable.
Yeah, his victory wasn't just personal. It reshaped the entire label-artist dynamic, especially at Motown.
Oh, definitely. And they'd never seen anything like it. It opened the door.
Yeah. It sent a clear message that artists, especially those with a strong vision, could demand and achieve creative independence. It was a turning point for artist empowerment in the music industry, and right after Marvin did that, the Stevie thing happened. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, it was big. Yeah. So that shift opened a floodgate.
Yeah.
And it was truly a profound long-term effect on soul music. And we're going to explore that when we come back from break, so stick around.
And welcome back to Architects of Soul. I'm Mello Soul.
And Max Soul.
So we've talked about Marvin Gaye's artistic bravery and his battle for creative control.
Which was incredibly large.
Yeah.
2 years worth of battle.
Now let's talk about that ripple effect.
Ripple effect.
The enduring legacy of his courage. His success with What's Going On proved that politically and socially conscious music could be both critically acclaimed and commercially viable.
Exactly, Mello. His triumph, well, it opened the floodgates for other soul artists to use their albums as personal and political statements, something that was never thought about at Motown. Right? If you think about it, after What's Going On, the album became a canvas, a big cohesive work. Before the album, everything at Motown was a collection of singles and filler. But afterwards, that cohesive work where artists could explore complex themes and express their deepest thoughts and feelings, it really ushered in that album artist in soul music that we all grew up with.
You see this mold being followed almost immediately by other Motown artists, most notably Stevie Wonder.
Which we discussed for a second earlier.
Think about his classic period with albums like Music of My Mind, Talking Book, Inner Visions, and
Fulfilling Mrs. First Finale.
Those were all deeply personal and politically charged, musically adventurous albums where Stevie had gained unprecedented creative control.
Yeah, inspired by who?
By Marvin Gaye's president.
Exactly.
Beyond Motown, artists like Donny Hathaway with his powerful, socially aware compositions also benefited from this new paradigm, creating timeless works that spoke to the times.
Without a doubt. And I do not think that Donny would have gotten anywhere if Marvin didn't come out with What's Going On.
True.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely.
He didn't just sing about what was going on. He showed the music industry that artists could truly express what they feel, paving the way for soul music to evolve from a purely entertainment thing to a really powerful force. Socially aware compositions also benefited from this new paradigm. You think about that. The timeless works that spoke of the times that we went through in those turbulent 60s and 70s. It's unreal.
And if you notice, when Marvin did this in 69/71, Stevie did his independent thing right in
Curtis
there.
And
Curtis
Donny.
Mayfield, they all were all these were artists who were primarily known as singers, but they were all writing their own material, producing themselves, and talking about all sorts of social issues.
Exactly. What was going on.
Exactly.
And which, hey, was the title to Marvin's
What's
record.
going on, yeah.
Who the heck
He was a
knew
true
that?
visionary. And look, we're going to take one last quick break, and when we return, we're going to wrap up our discussion on the unparalleled legacy of Marvin Gaye. We'll be right back.
Hey, we are back for our final segment here on Max and Mello's Architects of Soul. What an incredible journey we've taken through the life and music of Marvin Gaye. From his early days as a Motown crooner to the profound statements of what's going on. Here's a guy who consistently pushed those boundaries, Mello.
Yes, he truly was a poet, soul poet, and studio auteur.
Love that phrase, auteur.
Auteur, yes. He wasn't afraid to challenge the system, to fight for his artistic integrity, and in doing so, he opened doors for countless artists who followed.
Which would include us, Soul in a New Vibe.
And his legacy isn't just the timeless songs he left us, Max, but in the freedom he helped secure for artists to speak their truth through their music.
Speak.
He taught us that soul music could be both beautiful and revolutionary.
And that was a powerful lesson indeed. It really was. So listen, thank you so much for joining us on this exploration of Marvin Gaye and his enduring impact. It has been our pleasure to share this story with you and to talk about the music that we love so much.
We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Join us next time on Architects of Soul to go for another deep dive into the legends of music.
That's right. Next time, we're going to dig into the magic that was Curtis Mayfield. So remember,
keep that soul fire burning, protect your sound, nurture your creativity, own your voice, and remember the lessons from the giants who came before. And yes, protect your masters and seek out wise mentors who can guide you on your journey.
Peace and soul, y'all.